that particular female. I think that they are thinking about giving birth. I'm keeping an eye on this one, although at the moment I honestly can't even tell if it's a male or a female, just the way that it's standing, but it looks like a pregnant female as well. Not panting as much as that other female. I'm quite tempted to move around and find her again. I feel like it may have been my imagination, but I thought I saw some ripples of contractions moving down her side. You can see the thick vegetation that they've found their way into, and pushing through and making a noise is not something that I'm going to do, but the road is just here, so let's see if we can loop around and catch up with her again. I really, really think she's coming close to popping out a baby, and it absolutely makes sense for her to do it in the next hour. Alrighty, well, while I shift around and get another view of her, let's see what Scott's up to, and I'll be back with you very shortly.
Welcome back, everyone. There's two very pretty birds. Well, there were two no, they're gone. There were two grey-headed bush shrikes hopping around this acacia tree. Now some Aramark babblers are laughing at me because the birds that I was trying to show you have flown off. So that's what you could hear there. And the bush shrike's a bird that we don't get to see very often. So I just thought I'd try my So we're not too far from the Buffels Hook waterhole. That is going to be our next destination. It'll probably take us about 10 minutes or so to get there, depending on what we bump into along the way. Good afternoon, Sandy in British Columbia, and thank you for expressing your concern for our skin with this baking sun. And Sandy, not to worry, Jamie and I were actually both chatting about the harsh effects of the sun just before we headed out, and we both religiously apply sun cream before we head out. VM, though, has just admitted that he doesn't, so we need to start keeping an eye on VM. But I know I don't take any chances with sun, and I use a very strong 50 factor in the afternoons. But thank you very much for your concern, Sandy. This is the saving grace for the afternoons. A frozen 2-litre block of ice. And what's remarkable is that this block of ice stays cold for almost the whole 3-hour session, even if we keep adding extra water into here, which is what we do. It's scary how much water you can go through in an afternoon out here. Easily 3 or 4 litres. Afternoon to Jessica, who is concerned not for my skin but the skin of the hippopotamus, and is wondering what would happen if the hippos' puddles of water dry up. What would they do? Well, they would suffer, but they would be able to lie up under shady areas. That's not a bad alternative if there's no water around. And they're quite hardy. I know in certain areas of Africa it gets very, very dry every year, leaving hippos stranded out of the water for a couple of weeks or months. and they can handle it, but it obviously has its effects and takes its toll on the hippos. But they, like I said, will usually just seek out shade as the next best alternative for their sensitive skin. Genevieve in New York is showing that she's quite a seasoned safari goer and is wanting us to show a small parasitic plant called a mistletoe. Quite applicable for this time of the year with the festive season tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la ahead of us. And I'm not sure of actually where any are off the top of my head, but they like to grow in the marula trees quite often in this area. And what's interesting, Genevieve, is that, as you said, quite a few birds will feed on the sticky fruits and seeds of the mistletoe plants. But that's how the mistletoe plant disperses itself. It's got a very, very sticky red seed or fruit that sticks to the beak of a lot of birds that try and feed on it. And when the birds land on the next tree and wipe their beak to get rid of that sticky seed, it lodges onto a branch, and that's where it starts growing. So it taps into the actual host tree that it's deposited on by a bird that cannot swallow it. And Genevieve, I'll do my best to keep an eye out for one for you, and maybe we'll get lucky and have one in flower, or that is fruiting with those seeds, and maybe we'll get to see a barbet would be a likely bird that would distribute it. Maybe Jamie will know where some are, and she can maybe keep an eye on quarantine as she sits with the wildebeest very patiently. So yeah, maybe we should team Jamie up on this, or it can be added to this afternoon's sequence of challenges between the guides. She's going for a wildebeest birth. I'm going for leopard cubs. I'm going for gold. Karula's going to come out and show us her leopard cubs. We've got no idea that she's got cubs. No speculations that she might be having any, but that's what I'm going for. To trump Jamie's wildebeest birth that she is going to get in about half an hour's time. But the mistletoe is still up for anyone. Afternoon to Barbara, who would like to know what is one bird that I would really like to see. And the first bird that comes to mind today, it always varies from day to day with me, Barbara, but today it is the African shoebill, a prehistoric looking bird that is an aquatic hunter, and I sadly don't have a picture of one, I don't think. Maybe I'll be able to find one on my new bird app. But very cool looking bird, the African shoebill. Now, this is not a good example of not texting whilst driving, but out here on such quiet roads, I think we can take the risk. VM, keep an eye out for any elephants, please. don't get shoebills in South Africa or Southern Africa, and there's not one, sadly, on my bird app. A very cool bird. And like I've said once, and like I've said before, hopefully our SafariLIVE family will grow by all of you spreading the word, and the more we grow, the more places we'll go to, and maybe one day we will go out and seek out the African shoebill, Barbara. Wouldn't that be an awesome adventure? Once we start moving to different destinations, then you'll see your bird list starting to grow quite drastically, not being confined to one little area. Some buffalo tracks heading straight down this road towards the Buffalo's Hook waterhole, which we're only a couple of 100 meters away from. Another seasoned safari goer, Jeffrey from Texas, is inquiring about the one lone sausage tree here on Juma, and would like to know how the sausages are coming along. Jeffrey, I will come clean. I haven't taken a close look at the sausages yet, so I don't have a clue how they are going. And if we weren't so far away right now, I'd go straight there, but maybe I'll be able to incorporate that into our next destination after the waterhole. It's done, Jeffrey. The next destination after Buffalo's Hook waterhole will be the sausage tree, to go and monitor the sausages, which we should have been doing all along. We've been skipping a beat there. One of my favorite trees, the sausage tree, Jeffrey, so it's a pity there's only one here. Oh, some interesting tracks on the road. Sorry if you got excited as I jammed on brakes there. Sadly, it is not the track of an anaconda or a python. It is where an elephant has dragged its trunk. And not easy for you to see, but there are a few large pads of where the elephant's big round feet have depressed into the sand. Also, python tracks will be caterpillar-like or rectilinear, and often be a dead straight track. They move, like I said, in a caterpillar-like motion, not in a serpentine motion, or a slithering motion like the black mamba we saw this morning. Looks like, I haven't had a very close look, but it looks like his tracks are sadly heading away from the waterhole, and we are very close to our northeastern boundary, so I don't think we're going to be able to track down this early. There's also a lot of impala tracks on top of his tracks, indicating that it wasn't just a few moments ago that he moved here. Hello, Christina, and thanks for sending your question through. And she's interested to know, how will guests react to snakes when they see them out on safari? And I guess it all depends on the specific set of guests, Christina. I guess it's fair to say that most people, though, are quite nervous of snakes, but if you play your cards right, you can convince a lot of your guests to not worry and not be too terrified whilst on safari. And it's actually one of the major credits or major responsibilities or tough roles that guides don't really think about when getting into the industry, and that you have to be able to convince people that it's not all about death and destruction out here, otherwise they're going to have a terrible safari and you're going to be the safari guide who led their terrible safari. So you learned how to try and convince people who may be terrified of certain things to try and calm down and see the benefits and the realities that death and danger are usually the last thing on the animals' minds. It does depend though, I'll never forget. I had one guest who I called, we heard lions hunting buffalo, and I called their room and told her to hurry up and get to the main lodge area so we could leave and try and get to these lions. And as she ran out of her room, there was a cobra that reared up, and she fell over and hurt her hip, and the cobra slithered into this rocky wall. And the son called me and showed me where the snake went, pointed at this little hole, and thankfully I didn't just bend down and look into the hole. I waggled the bottom of my shoe next to the hole, looked at the bottom of my shoe and saw that it had been covered in spray from the cobra. So that's why it's good not to look in holes where snakes have slithered, because you may get sprayed in the eyes. So thankfully that wasn't the case, but a good example of how one individual guest did get terrified by the sight of that Mozambican spinning cobra, and she actually hit the deck and really hurt her hip quite badly. So she was an unfortunate one. But usually no major problems. The buffalo tracks that we saw heading here, obviously still applicable because we can still see quite a lot of them here, and it's not uncommon for big old buffalo bulls like this to relax in muddy wallows like this during the heat of the day to try and keep cool, as I would be doing if I was one of them. Sadly, it looks like the pair of Egyptian geese that live at this waterhole, which VM's just panning across to now, have all moved off. Well, sorry, apologies. It's so hot I'm battling to string a sentence together here. They haven't moved off. They have lost all their goslings, it appears. I'm guessing these are the same two that we usually see here. They started with 7. The last count we had was 4. And now it looks like 0, sadly. So unlucky parents, I'll have to start again. So blacksmith lapwings are chip, 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 chip calling, and that's the one kind of right in the center of the pan that I'm zooming into now. And the name is derived from the sound being similar to a blacksmith working on his anvil, tinkering bits of metal. The woodlands kingfisher now joining in. Oh, that little blacksmith lapwing just bomb dived the Egyptian geese temporarily there. Nothing too serious though. Got a little bit of competition between those two. I'm not too sure exactly what about and why everything's getting worked up now. What's going on? Those Egyptian geese. And a lot of birds are beginning to alarm call. Everything's looking quite alert. I can't see any predatory birds flying overhead. That would have been an obvious kind of guess as to why the birds are all dancing about there. Maybe just a false alarm. I know somebody was asking to see thickney just the other day, and I've just spotted some water thickney. They're just at the water's edge in front of, or kind of in front and behind of that Cape buffalo that's out of the water. So whoever was asking for a thickney, I'm not sure if it was the spotted or the water thickney. These are the water thickney that we get here around the water's edge. Well, there we have it, and it sounds like Jamie would like to give you another update on what's going on with the wildebeest.
Most of our herd have come out onto the open space of quarantine. Guys, there are 6 new arrivals in this herd. 4 of them are with us now. The other 2 are further back with that very pregnant female. I've left her for the moment. I took one last look, made sure that nothing was happening, and then I followed this group so that we could have a look at the adorable little new arrivals. And I'm pretty sure one of them is the one that you saw born this morning, because the female still had matted marks under her tail. Look how cute they are. Those long, skinny legs. Now, we've had a really sort of dry season, and it's been tough for most of the antelope, and most especially for the pregnant females. And Barbara, you were wondering whether wildebeest can abort their babies in times of great stress, or whether there's any antelope species that can. And the answer is not consciously, but if nutrition levels were any lower than they have been at the moment, then yes, there's a distinct possibility that a lot of the females would abort. This year they've been okay, they've just made it through. Things were touch and go. Oh. Then yes, there's a distinct possibility that a lot of the females would abort. This year they've been okay, they've just made it through. Things were touch and go. Oh. Discovering your voice. Hey, Wobbles. You can see that right front leg still shaking slightly. And of course, like the impalas, born with disproportionately long legs compared to the adults, because it's vitally important that they're able to keep up with the herd. There's a very pregnant female wandering behind. I don't think she's had her baby yet. But Whitney, you were wondering if 2 There's a very pregnant female wandering behind. I don't think she's had her baby yet. But Whitney, you were wondering if two cows are pregnant, and going into birth at the same time, will they separate to not sort of draw attention to each other? And the answer is, I think that a wildebeest's natural instinct is to be... Hello, baby. Sorry, Whitney, I'll be with you in one moment. I just want to see what this little crazy one is going to get up to. Oh, there's Mom being a little bit defensive towards a sub-adult that got too close. And she's going to do the same thing to this female if she comes any closer. Very, very protective. There you go, see? Just shaking her head as a warning. Hello, baby. You look dazed and confused.
Hello.
Well, that's a ridiculous sound. I'm gonna dash off. I think they're heading towards the dam, actually. No. That's a ridiculous sound. Whitney, they're going to, I think a natural instinct for all of the females is to separate away from the herd just a little bit. Because they feel so vulnerable and they don't want anything near them, even another member of the herd, especially because sometimes pregnancy hormones seem to spark something unusual in the responses of the other adults. They tend to get overexcited. We'll try and reposition so we can watch the antics of that ridiculous little calf making all of those funny noises. I'm just wondering whether that female that walked past wasn't our pregnant one. Hey, wildebeest, so you're going for a drink now, huh? Meh. Ridiculous. Seeing them with the rest of the adults, you see the stark contrast in terms of colouring. And I was discussing that earlier, but Andreen, you're also noticing how incredibly different the colouring is from the calves to the adults. And I was discussing the reasons why possibly that might be. I think personally it's because wildebeest tend to favour more open areas. And more grassland areas, so the darker or the lighter color might be better camouflage, but that is really supposition more than anything else. I don't know the exact reason. It's just interesting to compare them to, because we're obviously seeing all of those impala births happening at the moment. It's interesting to compare the two. And impalas come out perfect miniatures of the adults. Whereas wildebeests are completely different colors. And I don't know whether that's just a habitat difference. I suspect it might be. That one's also got a very dangly umbilical cord. Oh, but you are so cute, you lot. Oopsie. Oopsie, nearly fell over the road. Paul made a good point as we listened to them bleat after their mothers. Paul, you're right, they want to keep as quiet as possible and not attract any of the big cats making that sound. Luckily, as I was saying, there don't seem to be that many big cats around, but there's a hyena den about 500 meters that way, and there's a hyena den about 500 meters that way, and they're smack bang in the middle. And hyenas will definitely go for young wildebeest calves. This family's going towards the dam, but I just want to go and loop around that area and just check that that pregnant female did go with them and that she's not still hanging out there. I suspect she might have been the one that moved in front of that female and calf when I said the female was being protective. But I just want to check that. We know where they're going. We're not going to lose track of their whole herd. Let's just loop around and go and check. I'm sure they're going for a drink though, so keep an eye on the dam camera. Not as water dependent as something like a buffalo, but still will drink regularly when they can. And at this point, after a couple of very hot days, there's not as much groundwater as there was. Right, well, chatting about differences between wildebeest and buffalo, while I look for our labouring wildebeest, Scott has some buffalo to show you.
Well, as you can see, we have got into quite a good spot to show some close-up views. We've moved across to the other side of the waterhole. We've been playing with that funny little contraption on the front of the vehicle over here. It's a virtual reality rig, which basically means it films 360 degrees, and one day you'll be able to watch this clip, hopefully, that we've just done, or that we're currently actually still filming now, and you can choose where you'd like to watch, whether you want to look back at VM and myself or ahead at the buffalo. You choose where you want to look. So we're playing around with this new equipment. Really exciting stuff. I did hear 2 helmeted guinea fowls alarm calling. A sudden surge. Sounds nothing like that. But that was my attempted helmeted guinea fowl call. Anyway, I was hoping a leopard was on its way to the water's edge for a drink, but no luck. So I'm not too sure what to do. We may do a bit of a stakeout here. It sounds like Jamie's stakeouts is working out very, very well. And happy to hear that it sounds like you've been having some great views of all those young calves frolicking in the clearings. Good news. And we're thinking of maybe adopting a similar strategy to Jamie. The sit and wait technique. VM has just found a bird of prey. Oh, what are you? Fork-tailed drongo chasing it. I love it. We saw it this morning as well. What bird of prey is that? Oh, difficult to tell from here. So I'm not even going to hazard a guess. It looked like an eagle. But that's as far as I'll go. Maybe a step or a lesser spotted. It's too far to tell now, though, sadly. Now, what's interesting is the one buffalo here on the left, he's coming up to investigate us. I'm not sure if he can possibly smell something in the vehicle. He's just kind of gone back to ease now, but he was staring very intently at us. Not too sure what that was all about as he chews the cud here. Well, there's some wonderful news that's just come through from Christine in North Carolina. And Christine, very, very happy to hear that you are busy planning or have planned your safari out to visit us here in the Sabi Sands next year. That's such wonderful news. And for those of you who are new to the SafariLIVE experience, it's important that you know that quite a few of the viewers actually come out and get to explore these very same places that we're exploring right now in the flesh. So, Christine, great news. Words of advice, kind of plan accordingly. even we can help you with, if you let us know exactly what time of year you're coming, you can come to do, can often be a mistake, and sometimes it's best to just go with the flow. Once you start going on further safaris, if you go on a second or a third or a fourth safari, that's when you really need to start fine-tuning. As many wildebeests around, at least not in the winter months. In the summer, they certainly are more common here in this part of the Sabi Sands. We see more of them in summer. And they will get hunted in the summer months, but I can assure you we weren't lucky last year in terms of filming any wildebeest hunting, or rather lions hunting wildebeest, but found some remains of certain wildebeest that we got to know, and certain individuals had names, one of which was named Brian's mom, or Brian, named after Brian the cameraman, who's busy filming with Jamie this afternoon, and his mother were both sadly killed by the Nkuhuma pride. So I think it's mainly because there's not many wildebeest here. In other parts of Africa where wildebeest are more common, lion would actually probably prefer to hunt wildebeest than buffalo, because it's an easier meal, not as big, not as dangerous, but still going to be big enough to feed quite a few mouths in a pride. So wildebeest is perfect size prey for lion, and if there were more here, we would see them hunting them more readily.
So let's just wrap the VR recording.
Okay, well, we're going to finish off our virtual reality recording now, and while we do that, we're going to send you across to Jamie and the wildebeest.
The wildebeest did all come down to drink, and in that whole process, this little guy appears to have quite possibly mislaid mommy. I'm sure is going to be calling. Here comes one of our newest ones back for another drink. Oh. She's trying to get a nice position to drink and chase away the others. Oh. Little one, be careful of buffalo. Watching the hardy-dar out of curiosity. What's that, baby? Come on, you better find your mom. Don't run into the buffalo, though. That would be a very bad idea. If we've learned anything, they're grumpy. Look at you go. Oh, so clever. I think running around just for the sheer pleasure of it, stretching and strengthening legs, not bleating, so it's not out of panic because it's lost mom. Bounce. Bounce, bounce. And back again. Oh, look at you go. Jeepers, that's fast. I think mom's come to try and find it. Here's mom. Looking a little bit concerned. There we go. Come to come to collect her errant baby. She just gave a very gentle grunt, as if to say, hey, come. I imagine that losing your baby at the waterhole must be like losing a child in a shopping center. Incredible. Watching these babies run. They're already at a day or two, or even an hour or two old, are running far faster than we could ever expect to. Bringing up the rear is the female that I was chatting about earlier. That's the female we've been looking for. Sure, the veins on her stomach are also incredibly prominent at the moment. And she looks so ponderous and heavy. That's the female we've been looking for. Sure, the veins on her stomach are also incredibly prominent at the moment. And she looks so ponderous and heavy. I'm certain she's close to having that baby. You can see the veins sticking out on her belly. And the way that her stomach is hanging, her spine is sticking out because of the way it's positioned. So close. But she's still drinking and she's still with the rest of the herd. Oh, that's interesting. That female went running up to the calf. I think the calf went with the wrong female, because that, I think, is Mom. The way that she went running up, making little contact calls.
Yeah.
Yep, that's definitely Mom. I think there was some confusion there between calf and mother. We've got this wonderful wildebeest herd that we're getting to spend time with. But Pamela, you were wondering how many there are in the Sabi Sands. Pamela, I honestly don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say somewhere in the region of about 40 herds, but probably more than that. I really honestly don't know the answer to that question. It's a difficult one. I'd have to go and double check the numbers. Well, Astralina, I'm glad that your cup of sweetness has been filled by that little bouncing baby running all over the place. Prepare yourself for an entire afternoon of wildebeest sighting, because that is my plan. I'm still convinced that that female is really close to giving birth, and I want to stay and watch her. It's the thing about try that again. Let's try and get the words in the right order. Live wildlife filming is, some of it's a risk, and some of it is patience, and it may or may not pay off, but at least we get to spend some time, and we probably learn something in spending 3 hours of watching the dynamics of this wildebeest herd at play. Stop here for, oops, did a bit of a roll there. Here's one of our newest babies. Now, if it's a female, it'll probably spend the rest of its life in this herd. I love that little contact call. But if it is a male, then it's going to have to head out and start searching for its own territory. And Chantal, you were wondering how old a wildebeest must be before it can leave its mother. Oh, that one's also got a little umbilical cord sticking out. Chantal, within a couple of months they're weaned off their mothers, and I'm talking at about between 6 months and a year when the mother stops lactating. She cannot afford, given the strains that are on her body, she can't afford to lactate for too long. So if the mother is killed by something like a lion or a leopard, or unlikely to be a leopard, but something like a lion during that time or after that time, the calf will be able to survive. But as we're seeing with that pregnant female, even a year-old sub-adult will still stick around with mom for a while, if it can, before she has her next calf the next year. So it's about a year that the calves spend around their mothers. All right, Mommy, you go ahead. Oh, I was a little bit worried about the calves around the pan with those buffalo. And Gracie, who is 8 years old, Gracie was saying that those buffalo had better behave this time around, or Brent will have to put them in a timeout again. And luckily they did this time, otherwise I would have had to send Brent to go put them in a timeout. All right, well, we reposition and stay with our wildebeest herd, as is the plan for this afternoon. Don't say you weren't warned. Let's head across to Scott and have a look at his guinea fowl.
What an awesome view this is. And we so often hear these birds calling, but we seldom get to show them to you. Not at least from a wonderful low angle like this. Look at how it's panting so heavily in this hot afternoon. Not too sure what the whole commotion was about there, but it is that time of the year where males will serenade females and vice versa. So maybe it was just a little bit of a love song between those two. Great. We rolled back and got you a little view just in the nick of time, a few seconds before Jamie linked to us. They disappeared out of shots. Always a moment of terror as that happens and the content runs away or flies away. Oh, this is good news. This is my first foam nest of the season, and that big white ball moment of terror as that happens and the content runs away or flies away. Oh, this is good news. This is my first foam nest of the season, and that big white ball of foam was made by a frog called the foam nest frog. And what the female will do will be that she beats her legs together and excretes a certain kind of liquid that froths up into this big nest, and the males will clamber all over her. Sometimes several males will be clambered in and around her while she's creating this foamy nest, beating her eggs, at the same time laying eggs into the nest that the males are then fertilizing. The tadpoles will then develop in the eggs in that foamy nest, and eventually they'll be big enough to and heavy enough to drop through that foamy nest, bloops, into the water below and start growing up as tadpoles and then into frogs. Now what can happen is that these small little mud wallows like the one we're looking at now can sometimes dry up in the process of the eggs maturing, and the tadpoles can plummet to a dusty death. So that is a reality, but hopefully it doesn't happen. It's, like I said, a frog called the foam nest frog or a grey tree frog. Just seems something I could just be seeing things in the tree that I just want to double check. I thought it was a snake. Well, initially I thought it might be a frog. Then I thought it was a snake. And no, I don't think it's anything. Beautiful big knobthorn tree up there that would have been killed probably by elephants many moons ago. Would have stripped off the bark from the base, and now it's dead. Home to some squirrels. I know some squirrels live in there. There's probably a few other birds that nest in cavities in the trees there. There's two fork-tailed drongos that you can hear shouting now. Their robotic call. Oh, cool. This is a surprise. Right below the foam nest, and we all would have seen this earlier, but I don't know if anyone noticed. But there's an animal that we all would have overlooked, as VM showed us where the tadpole plopped. Take a closer look here. A crab. A freshwater crab. Well, we very seldomly see crabs here, and what I do know is that they can lie dormant for the dry months of the year in small caves and then come out whenever there's rain, capitalize on the good times, and then sit and wait patiently for many months until the next water arrives. Imagine living a life like that. Great stuff. Well, I think it's time to continue. It'll be good to monitor that foam nest. And hopefully there'll be some tadpoles swimming around that puddle soon. Aha! Well, sounds like, even though Jamie is doing a stakeout with the wildebeest, she's managed to find you another animal that likes to roam the African plains.
And just to complete our baby-themed afternoon, I couldn't resist showing you this gorgeous little fluffy baby zebra and its mom. Perfect miniature, complete with the pattern of stripes that it will have individually unique to it for the rest of its life. Never fear, the wildebeest are still around. Hey baby, come back here. You were so nice and in the open a moment ago. Very, very common to see wildebeest and zebra grazing together, because they utilize different parts of the same plant species, and of course any extra ears and eyes are useful to have around you as an early warning system. And zebra and wildebeest in particular are very alert animals. but beautiful to see them in this afternoon light. The zebra are also not necessarily all giving birth in the same way we've seen the impala and the wildebeest, but they are there's definitely a peak in the number of baby zebra that we're seeing, because obviously it makes sense to have your babies around the time when you have the best access to resources and the best access to fresh green grass and nutrients. Hey, little one. This one's a bit older than our baby wildebeest. It's probably about, I don't know, probably about a month and a half or 2 months. Definitely not a new baby. About, I don't know, probably about a month and a half or 2 months. Definitely not a new baby. Amazing to see how rapidly they grow. Something that I encouraged with the baby impala, because we stop at them every day, but I think I'm going to encourage you to do it with the baby wildebeest as well. Maybe not with this baby zebra though, but that's to take screenshots of them at roughly the same distance, and you'll be able to, after a while, do a sort of a time lapse of how incredibly fast they grow. Because we will be stopping with them pretty much every day for the next 2 or 3 weeks to keep an eye on them. And I'd love to see the end results of something like that. Hello, zebra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, I think, at the back, including baby. Eye on them. And I'd love to see the end results of something like that. Hello, zebra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, I think, at the back, including baby. Mother is the individual off on the right. Oh, and there's the stallion on the left. And he will be... Oh, he's fleming grimacing for us. That funny upward lip pull. One of the females urinated there a little while ago, and he's come up, he's urinated on top of where she urinated, and then doing that phlegm and grimace as a way of pulling the scent into his organ of Jacobson on the roof of his mouth. And he's focused on that smell. Up there, he's relaxed a little bit. You can always read exactly what they're up to by watching their ears. Both ears were back, and he had a look of serious concentration on his face. Now he's relaxed again. He might do it again now that he's sniffing there. Let's wait and see. No, he is just grazing around where he urinated, as you do. Now he will be incredibly protective over that little one. Definitely the father, since zebra have their harem that they protect very fiercely. And I have seen situations where the male has fiercely defended a foal of his. Hey, little one. This little one is absolutely picture perfect. I love baby zebra. And for the moment, just standing, resting slightly in the sun. And we've got wildebeest and zebra in this incredibly peaceful afternoon scene. But Gert, who's watching in the Netherlands, was wondering that before the fences around the Kruger National Park were erected over 100 years ago, there would have been something of a migration between the zebra and the wildebeest, moving and covering enormous distances in a similar way to what they did in Eastern Africa, and was wondering whether or not I think that will return now that the fences have been dropped. And the answer is no, not really. I don't think so. Not yet to that extent. They don't have all that far to go. And the fences are also, particularly between Mozambique and South Africa, there's a lot of people lobbying to get those fences put back up due to poaching issues. That being said, there are talks that will take more than a decade to see to fruition. But there are talks of creating enormous migration corridors for these animals. But it won't happen, in my opinion, in the next 10 years. I think it will take easily up to about 50 or so. But it's a wonderful project and something that is very much talked about and considered and debated. So that animals just like these ones can move along the natural paths like they do. Hello, little one. Now, wildebeest have the unfortunate reputation for being rather ugly and rather stupid, but they're actually one of my favorite antelope to sit and watch. And I know that Dorf was saying that has never particularly liked wildebeest before, or at least never particularly thought of them as something enjoyable to watch, and has really enjoyed spending time watching the mothers and their babies. Well, it's a pleasure, and I'm glad that we could. The wonderful thing about being out here is the longer you spend with any individual thing, whether it's an insect or an animal or one of the random antelope, is that you get to understand and see far more of their behavior. And whilst we do spend a lot of time rushing around looking for the traditionally exciting animals like leopards and lions and elephants, I'm not saying I don't enjoy spending time with them at all. I do. But sometimes it is valuable to sit and spend time and watch the dynamics play out of animals that maybe we don't really consider. And having the dubious honor that they do of being amongst the ugly seven, I think it is. That includes marabou storks and lappet-faced vultures and warthogs. I think the wildebeest have something of an unfair reputation. Zebra, of course, cannot be called ugly in anybody's books. The only thing that they do, or might be considered less than appealing, is their exceptional flatulence. But they can't help that. All that grass digestion has its results. Actually a very peaceful family scene out here. The wildebeest are enjoying the short grass stalks and the extra safety of the open spaces. The place seems could move around there. But you never know, buffalo herds do cover enormous distances at times. They could well come and return to Djuma and Arathusa at some point, but it has been quite a while, to the best of my memory, since we last saw a large breeding herd of buffalo. They might even have 1 or 2 calves already. We just haven't seen them, to be sure. I'm going to reposition, and I want to double check and see, keep an eye on my female, see if there have been any changes in her behavior. And since we are going with the baby themed afternoon, I believe that Scott has found another baby antelope for you.
Just like we spoke about a little bit earlier, how the animals disappear out of frame just a few moments before you join us. That's exactly what happened there. But now you will get to see a few glimpses of some more before you join us. That's exactly what happened there. But now you will get to see a few glimpses of some more really cute antelope, the Inyala. Little youngsters sandwiched in the middle of the 2 adults there. It's a magical afternoon, still very hot. Not much of a breeze. And some Cape Turtle. And some Cape Turtle doves calling around us. Found another youngster, so we've lucked out, and some wonderful views of it as it moves through that little open clearing there. Very good. Well, we are slowly making our way towards Jeffrey's sausage tree. We are not too far from that and haven't forgotten about that plan, Jeffrey. Thereafter, we'll Jeffrey Sausage Tree. We are not too far from that and haven't forgotten about that plan, Jeffrey. Thereafter, we'll start snooping about in an area where we're hoping to find some sign of Karula, a female leopard. Aha! Some Cape buffalo enjoying a little mud wallow ahead of us. There's a few oxpeckers dust bathing just below the buffalo. That might be quite good to start on them. Take a close look at this. This is awesome. And you'll see there's some young oxpeckers that have got a dull beak, the one in the middle. So that's one of this year's new additions to the oxpecker family. It isn't remarkable the way they fluffle and ruffle their feathers through the dust like that. And it's to try and create a protective layering against mites. It also gives their beak something to purchase on when family. It isn't remarkable the way they fluffle and ruffle their feathers through the dust like that. And it's to try and create a protective layering against mites. It also gives their beak something to purchase on when preening through the feathers. And they've had a busy day keeping these big Cape buffalo free of ticks, or at least a lot less ticks than normal. That's what the Cape buffalo thinks about that. And isn't it awesome the way all these little mud wallows scattered through the bush often have visitors at this time of the year. It's so hot, it could be warthog, hyena, buffalo, elephants. Those are the main wallowing animals of the area. The lion and the leopard don't like to wallow too much. And Joey, aged 8, has noticed these very big horns on the heads of the Cape buffalo and is wondering how heavy they are. And Joey, they are very, very heavy. They are filled with a very solid bone, and they've got a very heavy keratin sheath, and keratin is the same substance that our fingernails and our hair is made out of, but it's quite a thick layer. Around the bony center, and I would guess that your average set of Cape buffalo horns will weigh probably around 50 or 60 pounds. That's why they've got such big solid necks to be able to carry that big head of horns. Oxpecker is still enjoying the evening dust bath. getting ready for bed. Whereas quite a few other animals, the nocturnal animals, will be getting ready for a night out. And isn't that interesting how the shifts will change between the nocturnal animals and the diurnal animals, and the African bush will stay alive well into the night. Bye-bye, buffalo. Good evening to Wayne in New Orleans. It's good to have you on board with us. Wayne is asking whether we see caracal and serval. Good evening to Wayne in New Orleans. Good to have you on board with us. Wayne is asking whether we see caracal and serval here. And yes, Wayne, we have seen a few glimpses of serval. We haven't managed to capture caracal on camera yet, but they do occur in the Sabi Sands. I've never seen one though in the 4.5 years that I've been here. So not an easy target, the caracal, but certainly a possibility, Wayne. Probably one of the main reasons, Wayne, is that we don't spend much time out after dark, and an area like this, caracal will be predominantly nocturnal. Whereas in other parts of Africa where there may be less large predators, they may rule the roost during the day. Also in areas with different temperatures and climates. So it does depend on the area, and animals will act very differently, but here caracal and serval operate mainly at night that we're aware of. And we don't spend much time out after dark because it's difficult with our current equipment to film unobtrusively or inobtrusively without interfering with the animals' ongoings. Or inobtrusively without interfering with the animals' ongoings. But the way technology is going, I'm sure the night vision equipment available to us will be good enough and affordable enough to become feasible, and hopefully we'll start doing more nocturnal safaris. I certainly look forward to that. This is awesome. We've got a leopard tortoise and kind of eye level with it, and it doesn't seem to have taken too much notice of it, and I'm hoping we're just going to be able to stop here and enjoy watching him munch on the grass. But no, I think he has caught wind of us and he's making a high-speed escape now. Don't go, we come in peace. This is a leopard tortoise and quite a large specimen. looks like it's just got to the cover that it was hoping to hide away from us in. Well done, tortoise. A great display of your speed and agility as it's galloped through that open plain. Wonderful stuff. High intensity viewing the leopard tortoise, always action-packed and high adrenaline. Okay, well, we shall be at the sausage tree in a few minutes. I'll call you when we get there, but for now you're heading across to Jamie with the wildebeest.
It's all happening around Juma Dam. Some sparring impalas, young rams, distracted by Franklin's calling off in the bush. And then about to make an appearance, I hope. Where's that buffalo gone? Come on, buffalo, you've got to come out this way. We've got our regular surprise visitors. When I say regular and surprise visitors, there's one buffalo drinking here. I don't think he's the one with our friends on him, though. He's got a typical red-billed oxpecker. And I'm actually going to chat quite a little bit about these oxpeckers. Oh, there's yellow. Well done, Brian. That's what I was looking for. There's our yellow-billed oxpecker. Well, there's two of them that we see fairly regularly. That one just poked its head out over. And now on the other side of the buffalo. Now, why we get so excited about yellow-billed oxpeckers is because they're exceptionally rare, and they were at one point critically endangered. Slowly starting to make an appearance, or the numbers are starting to increase again due to serious conservation efforts. But we don't see them nearly as often as we see the red-billed oxpeckers. That bull stands out so strikingly when you are used to seeing the red-billed oxpeckers. Also a little bit bigger and a little bit bulkier than the red-bills. And what we have just seen, although it's flown away now, was one of the wildebeest calves with what appeared to be its first ever experience with an oxpecker. Oh, impala rams are at it again. They're butting heads. Oh. That was hugely inconsiderate, you two. There we go. Very gentle, very half-hearted sparring. In fact, that one just yawned in the middle of it. Oh, I'm still keeping an eye on our pregnant female. We're still staying with her. And in the meantime, Scotty has a monkey to show you, so let's head across to him.
Well, if you look closely, you'll see one of our cousins sitting up in this leadwood tree. There you are, the vervet monkey, or green monkey. It is part of a troop. Difficult to see. They're all kind of hidden in various parts of this tree. Looks like they may be feeding on some of the fruits within there. Oh, VM spotted another one. And that you can clearly see is a male. He's got his bright blue package dangling off the branch there. Quite a unique setup of the vervet monkey. Jan has just asked why. And that you can clearly see is a male. He's got his bright blue package dangling off the branch there. Quite a unique setup of the vervet monkey. Jan has just asked why is it that we don't see too many vervet monkeys and or baboons here? And good question, Jan. The vervet monkeys are around. They aren't very happy to be on camera, though. Why, I'm not too sure. And baboons, that is a riddle that I am unable to ask. They occur all over the Sabi Sands except for here. During the 1 month that I was kind of away from SafariLIVE in February, a troop did come in and spend a couple of months here, or about a couple of weeks here rather. A couple of weeks here rather. But since then, no more baboon action, although there was tracks of one male and one male seen heading past our camp just the other day, just I think yesterday or the day before. So there's a rogue baboon running around Jan, a couple of troops of vervet monkeys, but not too many primates, and I do not have a clue what the reason could be for that. It's bizarre, because they are all around the Sabi Sands, just not nearby to us. See if we can get you some closer views. There should be some babies. Babies at this time of the year, and I think I may have just seen one. Let's hope Mom doesn't run away. Then have we got this one here? I think that's who we want. Yeah. We're in luck. We got this one here. I think that's who we want. Yeah, we're in luck. Got it, there's him. Spot on. Now, you'll see there's a tiny little arm or two clambering onto Mom. And the youngster could very well be suckling at the moment. This is such a great view. And if we're patient, I'm sure we're going to get a few better glimpses of this tiny little newborn. An African hoopoe calling next to us. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. And the mother's just taking some time to reflect, looking over the savannah, thinking about her day. She doesn't look hugely impressed, holding on to her toes as she sits there, but it's tiring business being a mother out here. And she's probably looking forward to a good night's rest. Anna, thinking about her day. She doesn't look hugely impressed, holding on to her toes as she sits there. But it's tiring business being a mother out here. And she's probably looking forward to a good night's rest. It's a great animal for us to be spending some time with at this stage of the evening, because they could provide us with some useful intelligence. If a leopard moves anywhere through this general area with their great vision, as well as the responsibility of looking after all these young, they're going to be on the lookout for leopards, and they'll let out a loud alarm call if they see a leopard and stare in that direction. That's probably the male with very impressive appendages. Was sitting right at the tip-top of the tree. He's taking care of his troop, and by being right at the top, he can get the best possible vantage point. Come on, little baby, move around. We've got a lot of people that are desperate to see you. I have the feeling, though, that it's gently snoozing whilst suckling on some of Mum's milk. You can see very small flowers or fluorescences just to the right of the monkey's head, and that's probably what the monkeys have been snacking on just before they went to bed. Now you can see a lot as VM has pulled focus. You can also see quite a few bugs flitzing about this tree, pollinating all those different flowers. So it's all happening here in the summer months. The bush is alive, the babies are being born. You're going to get to see a baby wildebeest being born shortly with Jamie. She's been spending the whole afternoon there patiently, hoping to share that incredible moment with you. You can see the two arms of a baby monkey suckling on its mother. Sadly, not much more than that. But what a wonderful evening it is, and it's great to be on this live safari with all of you. I think we should keep the wind blowing through our hair. And Jamie's got some more babies that she would like to show you while we try to continue our way on to Jeffrey Sausage Tree.
About 2 seconds ago, we had a really nice view of some impala lambs to continue with our baby theme of the afternoon. Now we have a view of a bottom and a couple of legs, and one tiny little baby behind the bushes. Now they're right next to the wildebeest, and I'm really hoping that at some point there might be some interaction between the two babies. And I think that might be wishful thinking on my part. How cool is it that in an hour and a half we have moved we've driven maybe 700 meters, and that's a push. Not counting the circles that we've done. And yet we've had the most incredible time with just watching general game, and I've really, really enjoyed the interaction that's happening here in this open spot. Hello. Just as cute as baby wildebeest, and not something you can ever get bored of. Starting to form their nursery groups more and more clearly now, and associating less directly with their mothers. Wow. Awesome question from a class in Illinois that's been working on Sherlock Holmes and mysteries. And they wanted to know what I think that the biggest mystery in nature is. Wow, that's an interesting question. The biggest mystery in nature. I mean, when we sit and we watch these baby impalas and think that this is a process that has happened year after year for the last 200 million years, the effect is something that's absolutely mind-boggling to me. What is the biggest mystery in nature? You guys will have to give me a bit longer to think about it. I'm going to think about it and get back to you, because there are so many magical unanswered questions, and I think that's maybe one of my favorite parts about this place, is that every time I head out, I find a new question that doesn't necessarily have the right answer to it. Why, for example, has the impala design been as successful as it has? Why are they the most numerous antelope out here? What is it about the combination of their size, their color, their reproduction techniques? What is it that makes them so successful and so widely distributed throughout Africa? That's just one example, and that's just looking at the animals we can see. Why do zebras have stripes? We think we know, but are we sure? Because if it's such Why do zebras have stripes? We think we know, but are we sure? Because if it's such a magical camouflage technique, why aren't there more animals that adopt that technique? Why do impala have black metatarsal glands on the back of their feet? Why are they highlighted in black? And is it to help them follow each other during a chase and to produce that scent, or do they have a different mysterious purpose? Why do they have black stripes on their bottom? How do the lambs know exactly what to do from the day they're born? From the minute born, they know to start struggling to stand up. I think that there are so many unanswered questions in nature that it's probably what it makes it the most incredible aspect of it. And the fascinating thing, of course, is that I seriously doubt that the impala sit in paroxysms of self-analysis and deep questioning. They get on with life and exist, and leave the questions to us. But I don't know that. Maybe they do. Maybe they have moments of self-identity crises and all those other human aspects that we have. I doubt it, though. I think they're far too busy surviving. Little one's also making a noise. Okay, fellas, I think time to leave you. Let's go find some other mysteries of the bush. And I'm thinking specifically, of course, the biggest mystery that's on my mind at the moment is that wildebeest going to give birth, and when? We have all the evidence, we have all the clues. She's big, she's panting, the water hasn't broken yet, so we know it's not immediate, or at least as far when we last checked, of course. She's slightly separate from the group, but it is hot. We'll have to weigh up the evidence and take a chance. Let's go see if there's been any kind of a change. I love the mysteries of nature. I think that's one of the things that has attracted me the most. Miles, I'm glad you're enjoying the baby theme that we have going on this afternoon. It was not intentional, really, on my part. I really just wanted to go and follow up with that baby. Enjoying the baby theme that we have going on this afternoon. It was not intentional, really, on my part. I really just wanted to go and follow up with that baby wildebeest that was born this morning. And then that other female, oh, excuse me, the other female attracted my attention. And since then, I have to be honest, I haven't been able to bring myself to leave them, just because it has proved to be both illuminating and fascinating. And just sitting here, I've learned so much about their behavior. First of all, this wildebeest herd hasn't moved much for the last, I would say, probably the last 3 weeks. Second of all, baby wildebeest are both playful and incredibly noisy little creatures. They bleat a lot, they make a noise. Thirdly, when they go drink, they do get separated from their mother. Separated from their mother because they get overly playful. And fourth, they spend quite a lot of time resting while their mothers graze, and that they do interact with other members of the herd, and that the females are incredibly protective excuse me, of their own babies at the expense of other wildebeest. They'll chase other wildebeest away. Well done, little one, for finding mom. Dylan's very valid point as to one of the biggest very valid point as to one of the biggest mysteries of nature. When I look at these wildebeest babies, and I think of the fact that they're up and about within 5 minutes of their birth, wandering around, running around, able to escape predators, they know exactly what to do. And then we look at human babies that take years and years. I think Dylan's got the right point, is that one of the mysteries is how we became as successful as a human being as we did. And of course a lot of it has to do with our thinking abilities, as well as those magical opposable thumbs that we have happening. That being said, there are lots of definitions of successful. We've certainly become the most dominant in terms of our effects being felt out here. I don't know how much of a success we've made of it in places. Rich? I don't know. Another mystery raised. Why are some animals territorial and some either nomadic or migratory? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm sure there are lots of theories as to the answer, but we may never know why that is the case. I've thought of another major mystery. Why are spotted hyena females bigger than the males? Nobody knows the answer to that. Why are spotted hyena females bigger than the males? Nobody knows the answer to that. You're making a noise again. Must be careful, little baby. She just nudged that one out of the way. They've been incredibly entertaining to watch, these wildebeest. Why have zebra evolved to have harem structures? So where the male protects and guards a group of females. And why have wildebeest evolved to have a territorial male that instead of protecting a harem, protects a territory? Just waiting for females to come and go. There's another mystery for us. Well, we sit and watch both of those animals. Never stop asking those. If our live safaris bring you nothing else but questions, then I think we've done our jobs right. There are far more questions out here than I ever have answers to. There's some impala fighting up there. I wondered what that noise was. Look at that. Look at that in the dust. That is incredibly beautiful. But going their separate ways again. Whilst I reposition to try and find our favourite pregnant female and see if anything's changed, Scott has been off the vehicle looking around, and he's happened upon a snake skin.
Well, VM found a black mamba for us this morning, and now he has found something quite similar. A snake skin. And as he zooms in, you'll get to see some beautiful shots of all the different little scales. The skin is in perfect condition. And isn't it a remarkable thing? Imagine peeling off your entire skin as you grow and leaving it behind. Snakes like to do this using thorn trees, understandably, because it helps to snag the skin. Here you can see a little portion of the head, and there's even one little eye segment there. I'm not too sure what snake this is. It's about 45 centimeters long, which is about 18 inches. Good stuff. So, a little snake skin along the way. We are getting ever closer to the sausage tree, Jeffrey. And in the next 30 seconds or so, we should be there. It's just up ahead of us. It's going to be a beautiful stage of the evening to sit there and see what's going on. I'm not too sure when the sausage trees flower. I think they may have even flowered already. But time will tell. Let's go and take a closer look. To Sandy. Hello to Sandy, who's watching in Tennessee. And Sandy's interested to know why we haven't seen many jackal running around. Do we get them here? And yes, Sandy, we get both the side-striped jackal, which is actually less common throughout southern Africa, and we also get the black-backed jackal, which is typically more common through South Africa. But in this specific area in the Sabi Sands, we seem to see more side-striped than black-backed. So it's kind of a unique reverse compared to what the rest of the country usually sees. And I guess the reason why we don't see too many of them is because of the high predator density. Lion and leopard will kill jackal at any opportunity, and in this thick vegetation, the jackals don't stand a chance and often get ambushed by them, whereas in more open areas, like in the Masai Mara of Kenya, wily little jackals got less chance of being ambushed by lion and leopard, so they tend to do better in open areas. That's my theory. at least. Areas. That's my theory at least. Okay, we just need to go down this little dip here, and then the sausage tree will be in view. The sun is going to be directly behind it, which is going to make, actually, we'll be able to make a plan. Let's get the sun in our favor. Seeing as though we've come all the way here, let's do it properly. This is it on our left over here. I'm just gonna drive around until we get a good spot. So I want to try and get quite close so we can search for the sausages. Okay, now usually the sausages grow from a long kind of downward tendril, or the sausages grow from a long kind of downward tendril or growth. So it almost looks like a piece of spaghetti dangling down. And I can't see any of those at first glance. So it's not looking very The sausages grow from a long kind of downward tendril or growth. So it almost looks like a piece of spaghetti dangling down. And I can't see any of those at first glance. So it's not looking very prominent, but as Vim zooms you into the canopy, take a close look and see if we can't spot any sausages or the beginning of them. They look basically like a big, long potato, you could say, and they get quite large, about, let's say, 20 to 30 inches long, and about as thick as your average human's calf or knee. So very heavy. You wouldn't want one of them to fall onto your head, the sausages of the sausage tree. Not too many animals feed on them here, but in a drought like this, elephants could probably chomp on them to get moisture. So I'm sorry, Jeffrey, it's not looking very promising here at the sausage tree, but that could change and develop. I, for some reason, think I've already seen it flowering quite early on in the summer, but maybe I'm losing my mind. That is also highly possible in this baking heat. Good, well, I don't think there's much more to see here, sadly, Jeffrey, so let's carry on. And the next destination is the Treehouse Waterhole, where we are going to find Karula hunting. That's my prediction. Some of you may believe otherwise. And the next destination is the Treehouse Waterhole, where we are going to find Karula hunting. That's my prediction. Some of you may believe otherwise. Heidi raises a good point, one that I often always think about Heidi, and that is how the snake skins don't break. You'd think they'd be more brittle. And I guess, Heidi, what you need to remember is that as they come off the snake, they are going to be quite moist and have a little bit more kind of give, whereas once they've been baking in the African sun off the body of the snake, they'll dry up and become quite brittle. So they do certainly become brittle, but I think when the snake is shedding, they are a little bit tougher. Good point, Dan. It is something that, like I said, I often also think about. Are a little bit tougher. Good point, Dan. It is something that, like I said, I often also think about. Great to hear from Dylan in Cedar Falls, and it sounds like Dylan's about to finish a degree very soon and is wondering whether it would be possible that he could come out here and train up to be a safari guide. And most certainly, Dylan, regardless of what degree or what studies you have already got under your belt, they'll just aid in you getting into any training programs or training courses here in South Africa, or once you've even done a training course, getting a job at any lodge. So you can have any background, you don't have to have any specific training to come out here, do the required training, which usually takes only about 6 months, and then obviously start learning the ins and outs of the industry. It takes many, many more years to become an expert. I certainly don't consider myself one yet. There's so much to learn out here that, like I said, 20 to 25 years would be a good platform to work off before you can consider you actually know what's going on. So, like I say, as long as you're passionate about the outdoors, about wildlife, and about entertaining people, which is an important part of the job, the most pivotal part of the job, then it certainly is worth coming out. And I know lots of people from various countries outside of South Africa, many miles away, that have come out and worked as safari guides. One of my good friends was born in France and studied there, fully French, and he's working in the southern Sabi Sands now. Another German guy that came out, an American lady that came out and did it. So there's nothing stopping anyone, any age, any gender, coming out and searching for fun times and good sightings out in Africa. So Dylan, good luck finishing off your degree. hardest thing to do now will be convincing your parents that it's a good idea. If you need help, I'll assist. And hopefully we'll see you out here in a few months. Okay, well, we are going to continue the search for Karula. I'm feeling lucky. It's that stage of the evening now that it's cooled down. Things are looking good. And while we continue doing that, we're going to send you across to Jamie for an update on the wildebeest.
I'm not sure if this is our female that we've been watching the whole time, but she's definitely also heavily pregnant, but doesn't seem quite so distracted now, feeding as it gets a little bit cooler. Now, I know that we've spoken about the wildebeest and the fact that it's really interesting to spend as much time with a species that we don't usually look at, and as much time as we have. They may not be the most beautiful creatures on Earth, but even looking at her, heavily pregnant as she is, that is an animal highly adapted for the lifestyle that it leads. Those powerful, powerful shoulders mean that they can run. They've got incredible stamina and incredible speed. And the fact that they can survive in the world they do and still give birth and raise successful offspring is a testament to millions of years worth of biological engineering. They're all part of the same family that actually has the fastest antelope species in it. So the hartebeest family, within that family there's the wildebeest, the hartebeest, and the sesame. And the sesame is the fastest animal out here, with the most, probably the longest distance covering as well. There's a word for that, Jamie. It's called stamina. There we go. Got there eventually. Highest levels of stamina as well. So they are incredible creatures. Even if they do look supposedly, like the old story goes, like they were put together from all of the leftover parts of the animals. And the more time you spend with them, the more interesting they become. I said that it's getting cooler. I think I'm actually mistaken. I don't think it's cooler. It's just the sun's starting to go down. We've been watching in the hope that one of these very, very pregnant females might give birth to these adorable little calves that we've been watching. And Penny, who is 7 years old, Penny, no, not all of the animals give birth now, but a lot of the animals give birth around this time. So especially Impala and the wildebeest that we're watching, they give birth very specifically at this time of year. Other animals like lions and leopards, even giraffe, will give birth throughout throughout the year. But there's definitely a peak breeding time when the rains start to come, there's more food. So that's when most of the babies are born, even with those baby hyenas that we've been watching. Oh, somebody's going to try and have a snack. I love watching this. They splay their legs to the side as if bracing themselves for the activity of eating. And then every now and again give mom a very solid headbutt to stimulate her milk production. Just in case, you know, she forgets. And we see it with all antelope species, but particularly with their long legs, they've sort of got to get right down so they can tuck their heads underneath mom. And although you can't see it too clearly, she's at the same time giving her calf a very affectionate bath while it feeds. And a baby like this is a huge investment for a mother. A year's worth of pregnancy, or almost a year's worth of pregnancy. the dung of cows or antelope. Now, this is a very difficult time for the wildebeest calves. It is very, very dangerous, and this is where they are at most at risk. And ask me, you were wondering, first of all, what the survival rate is of these calves. In the Kruger National Park, with the high density of... Hey, buffalo, why are you chasing the wildebeest? Sure. That was totally took me by surprise. He just went for the wildebeest. They got too much in his space. Buffalo bulls, you can see why I've chatted about them many times as being one of the grumpiest animals we get out here. He wanted to be where the buffalo were, where the wildebeest were, so he chased them away. So Gracie, they're not behaving after all. Oh well, at least he didn't catch any this time. The calves are too on alert now and a bit more stable on their legs. Now, buffalo is an unusual threat to a wildebeest calf, although it still counts, because they are more than capable of killing a calf if they wanted to, but that would be very unlikely. Let's just follow. Because they are more than capable of killing a calf if they wanted to, but that would be very unlikely. Let's just follow this and watch this situation play out, because now they're approaching very deliberately. But while I do, Ask Me was wondering about the survival rate of calves. I would say the mortality rate is exceptionally high, especially in areas like this one with high leopard and lion densities. And wild dog as well will also put a huge dent in wildebeest numbers. I'd be guessing, but I'd say that a 50% survival rate would be optimistic for these calves. There are just so many threats out here. Then in terms of how old wildebeest get, these buffalo have pushed most of the wildebeest away from where they were before, but back into the company of the zebra. These buffalo have pushed most of the wildebeest away from where they were before, but back into the company of the zebra. Hello, don't mind me. Hello, little ones. Look how they run. It's incredible. The problem with any kind of herd situation like this is run. It's incredible. The problem with any kind of herd situation like this is that as soon as one animal startles, even at an imagined noise, then the rest of them start to run as well. Although you do get the odd smart one staying behind. This, I think, is our female in the sub-adult that we've been watching. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's the case. Now she is, whoever she is, she's heavily pregnant, and Monique was wondering whether or not predators would target the pregnant females because they're slower. And yes, absolutely they would. Plus it is essentially an extra meal in one. And the females cannot keep up with you all. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world, and we'll catch you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye, everyone.
So, out of the large spread of animals I was hoping to find you, I have come up with nothing. But it's not over yet. And while we continue down this